Today was an alright day. I woke up. I poured a bowl of frosted wheat cereal with coconut milk, organic. I had a cup of coffee. And I watched a Digital Foundry video. The one that was a podcast. Their latest, that was released today. Digital Foundry Direct. After watching that, I decided to go to my PlayStation 5 in the living room and play a game called Fist, which is a 2.5D side-scrolling video game where you basically play a rabbit with a robot hand on his back, and you punch a bunch of robot dogs in different levels that require you to get used to the environment and acquire new skills to progress further through the levels. And I find it quite satisfying in terms of its controls and its gameplay mechanics. The way they integrated the haptic feedback into the game made it even more enjoyable to play, because every hit and every healing moment, every single little thing you did in the game had a custom feel to the DualSense controller that made it feel even more immersive than it was already. So that was fun. Afterwards, I decided to listen to another podcast, and this one was about a government official who used remote viewing to look at bases, apparently secret UFO bases, in Mount Hayes and report back about them. This video, which the memory of the name of it is escaping my memory, I tried listening throughout the whole day, and what made it hard was the guy being interviewed was very rambly and very sparse with the information he decided to share with the audience. The interviewer tried to ask different questions, and the response was always, I can't answer that. There's more information in my book. Yes, it may be. Yes, it may not be. I cannot confirm or deny. And so ultimately, this video felt more so an exercise of frustration than a legit recounting of otherworldly proportions. And so I'm glad I listened to it at 2x speed, because I just wanted to see if there was something interesting that the guy would say. And most of the time, all the time, he just constantly backpedaled and wouldn't say anything that really made for an interesting video. I forget the name of the podcast and the interviewee. The concept was this former military official was interviewed about remote viewing by another guy, and it was released 4 days ago by a famous YouTube podcast channel, with the interviewer being like a guy who looks like he's in his 50s. That's about all I can say. And it felt like a huge waste of time. Not gonna lie. When I got tired of listening to that audio, that podcast, I got a game in the mail for my PlayStation 5 called Empire of the Ants. And in this game, I decided to buy it because you play as an ant who commands other ants to fight bugs for territory. And I thought, wow, that sounds so interesting and weird and unique. I want to give it a try. And so I got the game thanks to a $25 gift card I got for Amazon on Christmas from a dear friend. Sadly, though, that only brought the game down to $11 instead of cutting all the costs associated with it off. So I had to pay $11 to ultimately get it, but it was still a decent deal. And so far, I do like the visuals of the game. It's a nice looking game. I'm not sure how long it can hold my attention. I think the art direction is incredible. I think the fact you play as realistic looking bugs is also very interesting. My only problem with it is that it's 30 frames per second on PS5, and I looked it up on Google, and apparently there's a 60 FPS version, but only for the PlayStation 5 Pro. So that's a huge bummer. I need slightly more powerful hardware just to enjoy the game at 60 frames per second. So, very disappointed. But the gameplay, it's practically, if you've ever played Pikmin, it's pretty much just Pikmin but with realistic looking bugs and environments. I'll give it more of a chance because I just got started with it like the first few hours, but overall, fairly fascinating. Then I had to take a shower so I wouldn't be stinky and get ready and dressed for work. And that's what I did. I drove to work. When I arrived, the first 2 hours was spent doing sweeps, which started off in the produce area where I had to sweep the floor in produce. And one thing I noticed today that was different than any other day was that normally we have a sign to sign off on our produce sweep. There was no sign this time. I thought that was interesting. Then I went upstairs to do a floor sweep in the break room. And normally there's a floor sweep sign off page up in break room as well. And that wasn't there either, which was very strange to me. And so part of me realizes maybe today is like the first day of a new era where we no longer physically sign pages for our sweeps anymore. We've been doing it digitally no matter what anyways, so we might as well just go digital now, right? So yeah, I just thought that was an interesting change. First time that's happened, and it was today, January 6th, 2025. Is the all digital future inevitable? Are we abandoning all the physicality that we enjoyed throughout the better part of the 20th and 21st century? It may be that way. It would look that way. Future's crazy, man. Anywho, I did my floor sweep and then rinse and repeat for another hour. And during this whole time while I was sweeping, in my mind, I was thinking about what I thought about yesterday. And that was how I get caught in these repetitive thought loop patterns about how I just constantly just mull over and think about the same thing over and over again. And so I basically had a little counseling therapy session with myself while sweeping to kind of pass the time, but also to have some self-reflection on what is important to me and what I want to achieve with my time and my life. Like recently, just a few minutes before recording this, I started watching videos about updates for new NVIDIA hardware, NVIDIA graphics cards, NVIDIA AI chips, and NVIDIA robots. And I watched a guy talk about a new miniature robot being sold for $28,000, but it had to be controlled with a controller instead of being told what to do, which was quite odd. It was practically made it seem like a drone with arms and legs, which is not how I imagine a robot should be. A robot should be something you tell it to do something and then it does it with relative ease or with zero fuss. So it looks like, in terms of consumer grade robots being available in the market, we're still a ways away from the iRobot future with Will Smith. But we'll get there, and it'll be much faster, sooner than later, especially with all the AI chip announcements. But anyways, I started rambling on about this because it made me realize that I love this stuff. I love hearing updates about technology, about things from our past that are coming to fruition in our future. And I find it absolutely fascinating to think about and to research. Sometimes I allow these technologies to kind of overconsume me, and I lose sight of the fact that there's so much more that I personally can be responsible for. And that was the conversation I had with myself while I was pushing the broom throughout my grocery store trip. So, yeah, I think a good thing to do would be to do some things that I know I must do, get better at my art, and then showcase that in a video in the future. And it doesn't matter how bad it is, that's how I get better. I just post it, I see what people think, and hear their thoughts, and then I just take that into account, but don't take it as gospel. Simply just use it as a means of gauging where I am at currently with my artistic abilities. And then I just continue carving away, and, eventually I'll have a nice repertoire, a nice resume from my own independent studies that I didn't spend a fortune on studying. That's the plan anyways. That's why I'm recording these videos, so I can really hone in on that routine, that craft. Afterwards, there was I had to push carts. And from what I remember, it was a very busy day for carts. Because no matter how hard I tried, carts just kept on being taken from the corral and it was always empty. And I remember having a conversation with one of the old folks who was telling me that he lives in like a retirement home. He's like, I think he said his name was Richard, and he's like in his 80s or 90s maybe, and where he lives in a retirement home, like they take care of everything for him. They make his bed, they prepare his food, they keep his car running, and he can just do whatever he wants now. And yeah, so that was interesting hearing what he was telling me about his life. Yeah. Oh, and there's this poor woman who's been going to the store that I work at for as long as I remember. And this lady just wanted me to be there so she could tell me an update on what's going on, because she needed to be on a roller and she needed to have an assistant help her out, which is something that hasn't really happened before. And I thought, why? And it turns out that she fell and broke her arm, and so now she has to be under strict supervision from another lady. And so I had my deepest condolences for her. I said, I'm so sorry that happened, and I hope you get better, and hopefully you never and I hope you never fall again. I told her all that, and yeah, and she gave me a kiss. So yeah, it does feel good to make some measurable difference in someone's life, for sure. Afterwards, I stuck around outside for carts and I needed help, and one of my coworkers came out to help me. And yeah, we finished, went back inside, did bagging for a good 2 hours, and went home. Had a air fried deep dish Red Baron pizza, very good. Baked Cheetos, tasty, and some potato chips, which the oil from those potato chips kind of hurt my stomach, so I don't know if I should be eating those. And yeah, just had a nice conversation with my mom. Then I went back to work, and the last 4 hours were pretty ho hum. Nothing really to get too deep into or talk about or report. Did my job. Bagged, carted, threw out trash in the back, brought in carts. We have to bring in 18 carts at the end of the day if you're a closer, with the signs put up. And finally, after all was said and done, punch out. Oh yeah, wipe check stands, of course, and wipe and punch out and go home. And now I'm here, and I watched some NVIDIA updates from CES, and now I am reporting to you what has happened. So overall, it was a decent enough day. I do go back to work from 12 to 9, and I am definitely going to do many productive things in the morning tomorrow. Of course, there might be some other things I might have to do. Of course, my mom may need my help because she's going to be here because she has Tuesdays off. So yeah, so I'm gonna have to help her out with a few things before I go, probably. But of course, I'm going to do my best to get things that I want to get done as well. Well, okay, that's the update for today. Thanks for listening, and take care.